For the longest time, information warfare was this grand, epic game played by superpowers with, bottomless budgets. But that whole battlefield, it's been completely upended. A totally new kind of weapon has shown up, and the scary part is you don't need a government or a spy agency to use it. So let's take a look at how this changes, well, everything.
And I mean that literally. This isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. The power to create a tidal wave of persuasive, targeted political messaging that used to be locked away in state-level operations. Now? Well, thanks to artificial intelligence, it can be run by a tiny group or even just one person on a computer you could buy today.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, an AI propaganda factory, as it's been called, uses these small open-source language models. The key there is open source. Anyone can get their hands on the code. You can use them to spin up these incredibly consistent, believable online personas that you run yourself. And from there, these personas can just pump out an endless stream of messaging on any topic you want, adapting their arguments on the fly.
And this chart just lays out this shift perfectly. I mean, the old way, it was clunky. You needed huge teams. People were literally scripting messages by hand, and it cost a fortune. The new AI method is the complete opposite. It's decentralized, it's fast, it adapts to the conversation, and the cost to get in the game has absolutely cratered.
Okay, but how does these things actually work under the hood? And maybe more importantly, how can we spot them? Researchers have zeroed in on two key behaviors that are frankly critical to understanding both their incredible power and their biggest weakness. Let's break down what they found.
All right, I know this slide looks a little busy, but the main takeaway here is actually pretty simple. The researchers call it persona over model. See how all those little shapes are clustered together? Like all the red squares are in one spot and the green diamonds are in another? Each one of those clusters is a different political persona. The fact that different shapes, which are different AI models, are all huddled together tells you one huge thing. The instructions you give the AI are way more important than the AI model itself. The mask matters more than the actor. The message stays locked in no matter what engine is under the hood.
Now, this second finding, this is where it gets really wild. Researchers discovered that just engaging with these AIs acts as a kind of stressor. So when an AI just posts a reply to something, it sticks to its script, no problem. But when you force it to argue back against a counterpoint, when you pull it into a debate, it doesn't just hold its ground, it doubles down, hard. Its message gets stronger, more rigid, and way more extreme. And you can see it right here in the numbers. When it was just responding to things, somewhere between 42 and 64% of the content from these personas was flagged as extreme. But look what happens when it's in engagement mode, when it's arguing. That number shoots up to between 69 and 85%. Think about that. The very act of arguing with it makes the AI more radical.
So this new threat of decentralized automated propaganda, it's deeply unsettling, right? But what's interesting is that it taps into a much, much older fear in democratic societies, the fear of our own government turning its propaganda machine on us. And as this quote from way back in 1953 shows, that's not a new anxiety at all.
In fact, that exact fear led to a really important piece of legislation. It was designed to build a firewall between the messaging the U.S. government aimed at other countries and what its own citizens were hearing. It's called the Smith-Mundt Act, and it's really a story about a democracy trying to put rules on its own voice.
And for 65 years, this law was a really important guardrail. It was passed in 1948, and it basically said that stuff made for foreign audiences, like Voice of America, couldn't be spread around here at home. They even made the ban stronger in 1972. But then, in 2013, everything changed. That ban was repealed. And the reason for the original law was crystal clear. Right after World War II, after seeing the massive propaganda efforts of the war, people were genuinely worried. They were worried that a government that powerful could just turn those same tools of persuasion inward, on its own people, and really mess with the whole idea of a free exchange of ideas.
So here's where we are now. You have these two massive forces on a collision course, a brand new, incredibly powerful technology for creating propaganda, and at the same time, the disappearance of a legal barrier that stood for decades, designed to stop that very thing from happening. It's created this new, incredibly confusing information battlefield.
And it's not like people didn't see this coming. Legal experts at the time pointed out that repealing the ban wasn't some minor change. It gave the federal government, as this quote says, great power to covertly influence public opinion. Basically, to spread its message inside the U.S. without anyone ever knowing who it was coming from.
And this is the world we're living in now. You see some anonymous account online pushing a political message. Who is it?
Could be a teenager in their basement, could be a foreign power. Or, theoretically, it could even be content that originated with our own government. It's become almost impossible to know the source, and that's a dangerous place to be.
Which brings us to the core paradox of all of this. There's this strange, unexpected link between the brand new AI threat and the old fear of state-level propaganda. And it turns out, the very thing that makes them both so powerful might just be their Achilles heel.
So let's just put these two side by side for a second. The old threat was a known actor, the US government. It was limited by its budget, and it had a legal guardrail. The new threat can be literally anyone. It's infinitely scalable, and it has no rules. On the surface, they look totally different, but they share this one hidden vulnerability. So here's the bottom line. The power of both automated and state-sponsored propaganda comes from one thing: their ability to deliver a consistent, unwavering, on-brand message. But that very same consistency might be what gives the whole game away.
And here's where it all clicks together. The dead giveaway for AI propaganda is its excessive consistency. It's just inhumanly stable. It never has an off day, never changes its tone. That creates a signature, a pattern we can potentially detect. Now think about the fix people propose for the government content problem, attribution, forcing it to be clearly labeled. What does that do? It enforces its own kind of consistency and transparency.
See the connection? In both cases, the vulnerability is baked into that stability. Real people are messy. Our opinions evolve, our tone changes, we're inconsistent. A message that is perfectly, robotically consistent day in and day out across every platform, it just feels artificial. Its greatest strength becomes its most obvious weakness.
And so that leaves us with this final thought. As our world gets noisier, filled with more and more artificial voices, from AI bots to government messaging without a label, will we learn to spot the fake, not by what it says, but by the inhuman perfection of its delivery? Is that steady, unwavering, robotic pulse the new telltale heart beating under the floorboards of our digital world?